Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. There is no loved one for Donald Trump in the works on this Valentine's Day, with more tariffs and talk of retaliatory tariffs against countries who already have tariffs in place and have them in place due to negotiated agreements with for trade with the US. So we're seeing a lot of talk on that this morning. Our Vice President, JD Vance, is over at I believe it's the Global Security Conference. Um, so he's speaking over there. We've got Putin putting a team together to negotiate the Ukrainian deal to end the war there with the Ukraine. And yet, President Zelensky of the Ukraine says he'll talk to Russia as part of Trump's plan, but not sure how this is all going to play out. And obviously, the details, it's all very high level. It's not rattling the markets very much from that perspective. So we won't drill into that. What's rattling the markets is um, at a high level, it's the talks of the tariffs or potential for tariffs and what future impact those will have. But at the detail level, it's really the earnings that are coming out, and in a lot of cases, revenue and earnings are quite positive, but future forecasts are weak, and that is impacting individual stocks as opposed to at the macro level. If we take a look, yesterday was actually a pretty decent day across the board for all three of the US indices. We're starting off in the red right now. Now we are 40 minutes till the open, so things could change. The NASDAQ down only 0.1%. We've got the S&P off 0.1% and the Dow 0.23%. So not a huge drop there. We'll see whether they can recover. A bit of a mixed bag in terms of the results coming in yesterday and where we are. So let's start at the top here in the Yahoo Finance app, and you can see that crude is now up almost close to 72. So this thing is quite the commodity. If you're into trading commodities and looking at trading crude futures, there's definitely a tremendous amount of volatility in here. You've got the VIX, if we scroll over, is up slightly, but it is just above 15. So it's come down below 16. And then you can see the NASDAQ is actually getting closer to even. So now down only 11 and a half points. If we scroll down to health and retail, so we did have some numbers out this morning. And although those weren't the headline numbers in the Bloomberg app, it was retail sales for January. And those came out weaker than expected. And I'm going to say significantly weaker than expected. And I'm not sure what drives the expectation because in my mind, January is usually kind of a cooling off month after a lot of holiday spending, but it seems to have cooled off quite a bit. And we do know that the US consumer is who is keeping the US economy alive and well over the last few years through the COVID recovery. So we do want to see positive retail sales numbers, and they were positive. They just weren't as high as was anticipated. So I think that could turn out to hurt some of the retail stocks that we follow today, although most of them in the pre-market session, with the exception of Nike and Costco, are in the green. Healthcare just kind of floating along. We're really not clear 100% on changes that the new administration is going to make to healthcare. We haven't heard a lot around fixing things at home, and that would be one of the potential areas to address. Um, may want to drill into Project 2025 and see what it has to say about healthcare, because that seems to be the playbook that's being followed in other areas, other sectors. We move down to transport again. Not a big believer in this sector right now. I don't think it has a tremendous amount of future based on the economy slowing down with potential tariffs and the inflation that that will cause. We get into oil, and oil is for the most part up for the day. So you've got all of your oil stocks here in the green, with crude up 47 cents right now. Looks like it's going to potentially come off that high. It was lower earlier, but it has remained green for the pre-market trading session. Then we get into tech, and we saw a big day in tech yesterday, quite positive day. Um, I think because of that, and because of some of the announcements, we may see sectors pull back. So Applied Materials came out, they beat on revenue and they beat on earnings, but they gave a conservative or weaker future forecast. And that has caused the stock to drop. It's been down between $7 and $9. I think it's going to probably find a bottom around $9 or $10. And I would expect if the NASDAQ goes up today, which I do expect it will, um, then it will recover and maybe be down $3 or $4. I think it's going to end up in the high 170s, kind of the 178 range. That's my feeling there. So there may be a buy the dip kind of dead cat bounce moment for Applied Materials. And if it's not today, I think that stock will definitely come back in the coming days, especially as we lead up to the earnings from, say, Broadcom, if those are positive, and then as we get into Nvidia. We'll get into another chip stock that just absolutely soared yesterday, and I'm not sure why. It was very odd, the timing and how that happened. But before we do that, take a look at NVDL. So NVDL, which is the Granite Shares ETF for the Nvidia stock, at 2 times the Nvidia gains. It was up nicely yesterday, ending at 61.51. Looks like it's up almost $1 again this morning. Lots of talk around how Nvidia is really continued to or set to continue to move higher in share price, but also just in overall demand, market share, everything around AI, even with the DeepSeek announcement. Not looking to hurt Nvidia at this point. Now, what could change all of that would be tariffs, on more tariffs and more restrictive trading. But so far, we're not seeing that. We also haven't heard from Micron this quarter, and Micron is climbing back. And I'm a big believer in Micron for the future, and as a company, I think there's a lot of potential there. And in the mid 90s, low 90s, I think it's a super attractive stock. I said that yesterday when it was down in the low 90s. And if you pick that up, you would have had a 4% day, and it looks like another 2% day today. So based on the pre-market. So you're in good shape there. CrowdStrike, good earnings. They flew up $19. So they had a good day. Not the kind of spike we saw with Net. Net went up percentage-wise much more, but still positive news in the cybersecurity area. Apple had a great day yesterday. We had CRM, which was down near the 320s yesterday at one point, right early in the session, and then recovered up to the 329, 330 mark. Looks like it's going to be up again this morning based on pre-market. Palo Alto, on the other hand, not so good. And we talked about this yesterday because of the dependency on hardware and the shipping of devices versus just being a pure software play. Palo Alto down in the pre-market. After earnings yesterday. We look at further, we look at Net's continuing to move up almost $4 yesterday at 176. That Cloudflare, that stock has just been a rocket ship in the last month or so since the beginning of the year. And the one that was the oddity yesterday is ARM Holdings. So I was out, not at a desk or anything yesterday, just moving about, and ARM was dropping for the day down to 154, in that 154 range. And I was thinking, this thing has got to turn because it had great earnings, but it gave a conservative forecast, not a weak forecast. It was just being conservative. And then sure enough, the thing shoots up $10 or $12 and then kind of finds a new range in the 164, 165 range. So I think we've got a lot more potential coming out of ARM today, even though it's off in the pre-market. That would be one I will be keeping my eye on. Scrolling down further to just look for kind of big pops. Tesla had a good day yesterday. You can see up $20 for no particular reason. AVGO, I think because of Applied Materials results, was down or is down this morning, but I think that stock has a little bit more runway here. To move upwards. It announces at the beginning of March, on the 6th of March. Tesla's up in the pre-market again. Meta, I think it was 18 days in a row that stock was up. It is down in the pre-market, but we'll see what it ends the day with. And then there's Baba. So this is a bit of a sleeper here. And I said I wouldn't get back into Baba because I've been burned so many times by Alibaba. But with its AI play and its positioning there, it looks like that is really moving it forward. So I'm going to continue to watch it. I don't think I'm going to get in anymore. I have a small position in it in one account, but I am interested in seeing what's going on behind the curtain there. And if we hear any more news out of that, unfortunately, it's hard with it being Chinese to hear news and to then understand whether how accurate that news is. We've talked about NVIDIA earlier. It's up this morning. Google, I think, was a steal yesterday. I bought some Google in the 184 range and it ended up near 188. It's down slightly, but I think it's going to get back into the 190s and then back up into the 200s within the next month or so. Certainly by next earnings, I think it'll be a $220 stock. Adobe still hasn't announced yet. It's coming up in the 460s. It's been moving up pretty nicely recently, down yesterday, but it looks like it's up a little bit today. And then TSM, I bought some TSM yesterday in the 201 range and feel that that was a pretty good price. It's down almost $3 in the pre-market. So that's going to mean it's going to open under 200 a share. That would be an absolute perfect entry point from my perspective into TSM because I think like ARM and or like your NVIDIA, I think I mean, the earnings were fabulous. The future forecast was good. Everything is tracking for TSM to have a great quarter. And then we get down into our financials, and you can see that Apollo Group had a okay day yesterday. They're at a great entry point, in my opinion, in the mid 150s. And then SoFi came back, had a great day. It had a great day at the beginning, lost that, came back to basically where it opened, and then climbed again. Looks like it's up again today. I expect SoFi, again, by April, we'll be back in the $18 range. So that's a nice little gain there to get in on if you were to purchase that in in the month of February, say, before or as it's making a move upwards. And then it's a bit of a mixed bag here as you look through some of the larger financial stocks, which I'm kind of staying away from right now, focusing more on tech and those with pending earnings coming up and keeping an eye on that. The other one we didn't touch upon in tech that I wanted to just talk about slightly that I cautioned about yesterday was Twilio, and that did announce worse than expected I guess, earnings, revenue, or future forecast, one of the three, and it is off almost $12 a share. So good that we did avoid that and didn't focus on that because I really didn't know much about that company. So that's where we are today on Valentine's Day. Hope you have a great Valentine's Day. Do something nice for the one or the ones that you love, and we'll talk to you again soon. Good luck in your trades, and if you're liking these videos, please